everybody, and welcome to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're back. It's Monday. It's a great Monday in the great state of Wisconsin. Weather's getting a little bit warmer out there. Austin was talking about global warming last week. I don't know what to call it, but it's getting warmer out there, and it is getting spicy, and it's getting spicy in Wisconsin sports. Everything's starting to heat up here. So, Austin, how we doing on this Monday?
Trage, I'm doing great. Well, not really great. We're at the bottom of the hill.
Not great.
And we're it's a steep climb. It's a steep climb to the weekend again. Mondays are never my favorite, but whenever you're watching Sunday Night Football and you hear the Sunday Night Football theme song, it's like it just reminds you of school the next day. And we didn't have that this weekend, but we had the championship games or whatever, but that's kind of what it felt like. And but we're still here. We're here to provide for the community.
We're here to provide. That's all we can do here. Rogan, how are we doing? Are you providing for this community here?
Trage, that's what I live my life to do, is provide for this beautiful community down here. I'm a provider, Trage. What can I say? I'm a provider. Like Austin was saying, it's Monday. I'm still dealing with the fact that I have to deal with 2 more weeks of Taylor Swift. I mean, is it even going to be a Super Bowl, or is it going to be like a Taylor Swift Bowl? Like, what is this?
I was upset about? I was upset that I didn't see more of Jason Kelce. That's what I was upset about.
They limited the amount of drinks you could have this weekend because they saw last weekend, and they said that no more jumping out of press boxes, I heard.
Well, and apparently he said that when he drank that bowling ball, he didn't know what was in it. He said he just drank it. He didn't know what it was. He just drank it, and he said it was something.
Bill's Mafia could have killed him, honestly.
That's what I was thinking, the same thing. Apparently they started across the street at a bar drinking Miller Lite, then they switched to Busch Light, and then they had that bowling ball. So he was rolling when he came from the bar, so he was ready to rock and roll. I don't think he had Bud Light in there, not from what I heard. So, definitely a great weekend in Wisconsin sports. So I'm going to go to Rogan right away. Everybody's coming in with a thought from this last weekend. You had that sports thought from this last weekend. Give it to me. Give me what you were thinking about this last weekend there. Wisconsin sports. I don't care if it's even just a thought that you had this weekend about anything. Give it to me here.
Trey, I was thinking, and is Lamar Jackson a fraud? I mean,
I told you.
Two-time MVP. I got to respect him, but he looked god-awful in that game Sunday. And I think it's starting to start creeping in people's heads. Like, this guy sucks in the playoffs, and you can't tell me you watched that game and came away thinking that the Chiefs really won that. That was a game the Ravens lost 1,000%.
The Ravens played like crap all the way around, and they played into what the Chiefs were trying to give them. They had a lot of stupid penalties in that game. Lamar Jackson, if you had to think, the equivalent in sports to Lamar Jackson, James Harden. James Harden in the NBA. He can carry you through the regular season. He'll drop 60 for you. He'll be a baller. Come postseason, nobody knows where James Harden is. That is my Lamar Jackson right there. I told you, you were telling me how great Lamar was, and I was like, hey, I still don't like his throwing. I'm still not a fan. I said his legs can get him there, but I don't know if his arm can. He made a lot of silly decisions there. Zay Flowers, bad at the goal line there, and then cut himself throwing his helmet around on the sideline and punching his little seat there. So it was definitely something.
Watching him navigate an NFL pocket could bring tears to a man. The guy has absolutely zero pocket presence, and he bails himself out a lot just because he's so athletic. But there's so many times a game that he has no idea what he's doing in the pocket and somehow evades a sack. But eventually that's going to catch up to you, and it did today. So yeah,
they compare him to Michael Vick. I don't even think he's close to Michael Vick. Michael Vick was like your complete package of everything put into one guy. That was Michael Vick. And Lamar Jackson he has the speed. He's a speed guy. He has the ability to get out of the pocket and run. But like you said, his first reaction is, I'm going to bail. I'm not going to step up into the pocket and make a throw. I'm going to bail out of here, and maybe I'm going to look down the field after that. Otherwise, I'm looking down the field to run. That's about it. My favorite thing to watch, though, is Mahomes. when he takes off, he can be 5 to 7 yards in front of the line of scrimmage, and he will pump fake, and he will still get defenders to shake like they think he's going to throw the football at 5 to 7 yards. But when he pump fakes, what is so impressive is that guy's grip strength has to be something, because when he pump fakes, it's like he's going to full on let it go at 100 miles per hour, and then he stops. I mean, it's just crazy watching Mahomes. Sometimes I want to hate the guy. But
now Trey just glazing Mahomes, just like all the other people. Come on, Trey.
I hate him. I hate him, especially when he plays the Packers.
Keep it up, Collinsworth.
When he plays the Packers and he makes a throw, and it's just like, I hate this guy because he can do something like that. It's just ridiculous. But, I mean, the ridiculous stuff that he does and consistently is just, I mean, it's baffling. It is. It's honestly baffling. He's a complete, they try to compare Caleb Williams coming out of college there to being like Mahomes. I'm not even close. I don't even see it. I don't think we've seen a quarterback like Mahomes in a very long time. Tom Brady was a winner, but I think Mahomes brings a different element for me, honestly. So, I mean, Austin, jumping to you, thought coming out of the weekend. Everybody had their thought. I don't care if it's sports related or if it's what you thought about something food related. You give me your thought of the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, usually I eat a lot of food, but my thought is with the Chiefs beating the Ravens, the logo theory is now broken, Trage, with because everyone thought it was going to be Ravens 49ers now, but
I can't get into that.
But now Chiefs won, so logo theory now busted, and there was a theory, or there was a logo for next year's Super Bowl, and there was some green in there, and so I was a little excited that the Packers would make the Super Bowl next year, but now with this logo theory kind of broken, not getting me as much excited. But Packers still have a chance next year, and another like what you guys were saying, another week of Taylor Swift and all that. And at this point, I mean, she should just join Usher up on the stage there during the Pepsi halftime show because, oh my gosh, she's gonna be there just singing already. So
you don't think she will now? There's no way she doesn't. Surprise guest.
She's gotta be there. Surprise.
Put Jackson Mahomes in there too.
Oh,
whoa.
Too far?
Oh, no. No, too far.
Brittany Mahomes, the whole gang out there.
The whole gang. Bring Mama Kelsey up. I would take Mama Kelsey and Jason Kelsey up on stage with Usher at halftime. Come on. Jason Kelsey shirtless up on stage with Usher. That would get the crowd rolling at halftime. If they aren't already pumped for the Chiefs, they'd be pumped at halftime then. That's all I know with Jason up there. I want him to run for president. I really do. I mean, can you imagine the day he won his presidency? If he won, he would take his shirt off up on stage. He'd crack back a cold one. He'd have his bowling ball up there with Bill's Mafia. That would be his group, would be Bill's Mafia. He'd bring them into the house with him. That'd be it. That'd be my guy, Jason Kelsey for president. That's all I know. That's all I know right there. So thoughts of the weekend right there. Those are some good ones. I'm not sure if I can get behind all the conspiracies that they have about the NFL. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them about professional sports, so I don't know if I can get into that.
Everything.
It's all scripted. It is. End of the day, Matt Ryan was scripted to lose that Super Bowl. He was up 28-3. Lamar was just supposed to suck. And it's all scripted at the end of the day. I can't get into that one. So we're going to get into the Bucs now. Bucs it was kind of an embarrassing loss to the Cavs there on, I believe that was Friday night, 112-100. That was a terrible offensive performance by a Bucs team that we've talked about all year long as a team that hangs their hat on their offense. I mean, the defense showed up, only giving up 112 points, but 100 points for the Bucs in total in that one. So Austin, jumping to you right away. I mean, stats weren't really crazy in that one. What did we see for stats? I mean, that led to 100 points for the Bucs in this one, which is really low when you look at the NBA standards nowadays.
Yeah, that was a weird game, especially considering we literally just played them the game before, which we talked about the NBA scheduling. It's all messed up now these days. And we scored 126 the game before and then only 100 here. And I thought our defense still played pretty well, considering they only kept them to 112. So it was a little bit odd there that we only scored 100. And when you look at the box score here, as it loads up, and ESPN is slow, I mean, it's been the same players for Cavaliers this whole time. Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen. I mean, Donovan Mitchell had 32 points, Jared Allen 24 points and 14 rebounds. Off the bench, they had a little bit of help with Karis LeVert with 12 and then Yang with 10. But I mean, it's been the Mitchell Allen show every time we've played the Cavaliers. When you look at the Bucks, though, we had pretty good scoring throughout our starters, except for Beasley. Beasley only had 3 points, but Giannis 22, Damian Lillard had 22, Middleton 14, Lopez 11, and Portis off the bench with 12. But besides that, there was just not a whole lot going on with our team. We shot 13 for 34 from 3-pointers, and they shot 14 for 36. But it's the points that came inside the 3-point line that just was able to beat us out. I don't know. Usually, I feel like sometimes we rely on Giannis to be scoring 30 points a game, honestly, and it just sometimes doesn't work out like that. And then we need a little bit more help from other guys. Beasley, he only shot the ball twice the whole game, and when you're a starter and you're only going to shoot the ball twice the whole game, one of them for a 3-pointer, they were both 3-pointers, and he only made one, and so that was basically all he did. He had 3 rebounds and 1 assist, and that's all he added. And with 2 turnovers also. Beasley's not impressed me whatsoever. And I don't know how they were able to turn it around the next game against the Pelicans. But for this game, it was weird seeing the Bucks struggle, considering they just put up 126 against the Cavaliers the night before.
Yeah, you look at this box score, and it looks like something you would see at the end of the third quarter. Like, this is not what you expect for a final box score of a basketball game here. I mean, looking across the board, they're like, it's like you said, 100%. So reliant on Giannis and Dame. I mean, if you add Dame into there too. If those 2 guys can't get it done for you, what are you going to do? And you're going to get into playoff scenarios where you're going to play the Pacers or good defensive teams where they're going to take away Giannis. They're going to take away Dame as good as they can. Where's that third scorer going to come from? Middleton? Is Middleton going to step up and be that guy? Because in this game where Giannis and Dame couldn't get it going, Middleton put up a measly 14 points. Yeah, if we look across the board, they had even scoring, like you said, but it's like even scoring isn't good enough. It isn't. I mean, 100 points doesn't win you an NBA basketball game. You look at this, even scoring in this one, it's like that would win a college basketball game. That would definitely win you in a college basketball game. But in the NBA, that's nothing. That's just that's a third quarter score right there, 112 to 100. The defense played well in this one, 112 points given up. I mean, Donovan Mitchell still played well, had his usual 32 points. And like you said there with Jared Allen, he did his thing. But they did a good job controlling everybody else in this ball game. At the end of the day, it's just shots weren't falling for the Bucks, and they couldn't get anything going. I mean, you look at that third quarter for the Bucks, 20 points. 20 points in that third quarter. That is a terrible quarter of basketball right there on the offensive end for the Bucks, especially when you're holding the other team. I mean, 26 points there for the Cavs in the third quarter compared to 20 for the Bucks. I mean, that's just bad. That's bad offensive basketball. Not what we expected from the Bucks. We wanted to see an uptick in the defense, and we saw a downtick in the offense, and the defense was playing well. So it's, I mean, interesting to see that game there. So Rogan, looking at that game, anything to add there from this Bucks-Cavs matchup? Just an interesting one all the way around.
Yeah, like you guys were just saying, it was kind of just an off night for the team. Poor shooting. I think Dame was like 7 of 24, which you're not going to have a lot of games where Dame shoots that poorly. And then on top of that, you also had Chris Middleton, who was only 4 of 15 or something like that. So just kind of poor shooting all around. And but like you said, at least you saw a better defensive performance. Even these last 3 games now without Griffin, a lot better than the prior 3 games. Still giving up 110 plus points, but you know, if you can hold teams at 110, 112 area, like you're going to win a lot of basketball games. It's when they were giving up 130 that you're just not going to be able to win a lot of games. But yeah, I think obviously with the Pelicans the next night, a bounce back game, they score 140 again. So hopefully it was just kind of an outlier there on the offensive end, but glad to see the defense playing a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely. And like you were talking, they're getting into that next matchup there. On Saturday, they beat the Pelicans 141 to 117. And this is a decent Pelicans team. They're nothing crazy good, but they're solid. I mean, 26-20 after this ball game here against the Bucks. But this is a well put together team in the Pelicans. So, Austin, what do we see for stats in that one that led to the big win for the Bucks coming after a lackluster loss against the Cavs?
We saw a lot more scoring. especially from Lopez in this one. And Jake Crowder made his first start here. Looks like Chris Middleton was out for this game, probably a rest day. I think. I don't think he got injured at all. But Damian Lillard, he had 26. Brook Lopez added 24, which I don't think we've seen him score that much in a while. At least as if he has, it's been a few games. And then Giannis with 30 points and 12 assists or 12 rebounds there. Portis off the bench, though, 20 points off the bench, and Cameron Payne with 11. Beasley still struggling, 8 points there. And then Jay Crowder as a starter, like I said, only 5 points. And he could still be feeling that injury there. Not entirely sure, but I don't know why they started Jay Crowder over like Bobby Portis or something. I think they're pretty much the same. I mean, Jay Crowder is pretty much considered a power forward, but Bobby Portis is considered a forward. Like, it's pretty much the same. They're pretty much the same. So I honestly probably would have started Bobby Portis instead of Jay Crowder, but in this night, it didn't matter at all because they were able to score 141 points.
Yeah, and so I got a question for Rogan here. I'm just gonna name it out hypothetically here, but would you see a possibility where, the struggle of Beasley, like we've talked about, he's inconsistent. Would you see a possibility where Middleton could slide over to, he's going to be a bigger shooting guard, don't get me wrong, but you slide Middleton, you keep Jay Crowder. I like Bobby Portis, but I like Bobby Portis coming off the bench. I think he's better off the bench than he is starting. So moving Jay Crowder, he's a defensively oriented player. Moving him into that starting rotation, moving Middleton to that shooting guard. Now you got a starting five of Dame, Middleton, Jay Crowder, Giannis, and Brook Lopez. That'd be your starting five. You're going to have a solid forward group there with Jay Crowder, Giannis, and Brook Lopez there on defense underneath the rim, and good rebounding all the way around with those three. And then Middleton, Lillard, you're going to eat some out there against guards on the perimeter, but I don't think Beasley's not a great defender, so you're not losing anything defensively. Offensively, he's hit or miss. I think you can get that off the bench with Beasley.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good, decent idea now that you say it. Like you said, I wouldn't bring Portis off the bench. Like, you don't want to start Portis for a couple of these games because his role for this team is going to be that sixth man. So you don't want him getting out of rhythm and messing with his minutes, especially with how well he's playing. But I don't know if they would make that their starting lineup, but I could definitely see that as like the Warriors like death lineup when, even though Iguodala never started for the Warriors, when the last 5-6 minutes of the game, that was the lineup that was always in. So like you were saying, I could definitely see maybe the Bucks don't start with that lineup. Maybe they keep Beasley in there just because he's been starting all year long. But I could definitely see when it gets to the fourth quarter, last 6-7 minutes, where that's the lineup they go to. Because like you were saying, I do think that's their best especially defensive lineup they have to offer. And Jay Crowder is not a bad 3-point shooter in himself. So it's not like you're losing 3-point shooting by taking Beasley off. Obviously, he's the best 3-point shooter in the league so far this year, but Crowder can hold his own in that, right? So I could definitely see them maybe going to that lineup late in games, end of games to close out for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I never even thought about like the Warriors death line up there with Iguodala. I mean, that makes complete sense. And late in games here, having Crowder out there, mainly for his defense. That's all I'm looking for out of Jay Crowder. He can score a little bit. I mean, he can hit it from the outside. I'm not saying he can't, but he's just, I think a better defender than what you're going to get out of Beasley, even on a guard. I don't think Beasley's really matching up with anybody right now. So it wouldn't even hurt to have him out there at any point in there. So Bucks got the win against the Pelicans. That was great to see. I really do think, though, they still have to add a piece. I think they really need to add a piece in here. If not a guy for that starting rotation for Beasley, I think they need to find a bench piece, a scorer out there who can also play at the defensive end. I don't know if it's an Alex Caruso. I don't know what it is that the Bucks can really get out there right now, and especially because they're not making MarJon available, and I believe they weren't making Jackson Jr. available. So I don't know what they have to really offer teams except for guys currently playing on this roster, or we shipped Thanasis out, one of the two. I mean, apparently teams were interested in Thanasis. That's what I heard. I heard that the Knicks were actually interested in Thanasis at one point. I couldn't believe it, but Apparently they are. So teams are interested.
You got
Fanatics
All-Star votes to start in the All-Star game. Trey, you got 3 All-Star votes to start in the All-Star game, and I don't know who's voting.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think
we're holding them back.
Giannis, his other brother, and
himself.
Somebody else voted for. Yeah, Thanasis voted for himself. There's his 3. There's his 3 votes to get in. But yeah, I mean, I really do think they need to find a piece yet moving forward here, and that leads us into our next matchup. We got the Bucks coming up tonight. This is going to be a dicey one. They got the Nuggets. They're going to take on the Nuggets. Now, Doc Rivers will be on the sideline for this game. That's what we heard, is that Doc will be coaching in this game against the Nuggets. Interesting that they start Doc. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to jump to both of you guys with this one. I'll jump to Austin first. Is it interesting that the Bucks are going to Doc on the road, not starting his coaching career with Milwaukee in a home game, in a home setting, giving him a little bit more time to get ready?
I mean, they're probably like, next game up, I guess. Like, I don't know. This is probably when he was supposed to start coaching, and this is the first time he was actually able to get with the team. I'm guessing they probably didn't want to wait any longer to have him coach. I'm gonna just take a look at the Bucks schedule here, and just gotta pull this up. So they play at Denver, at Portland. All their next 6 games are in the West. So they would have had all away games. I don't think they want to wait till February 8th to have Doc start coaching. They probably want him to start coaching as soon as possible, and that's probably my guess. I'm surprised he didn't start coaching earlier, though. I mean, against the Cavaliers, now there was probably some finishing stuff that they had to finalize and whatnot, but I mean, that was probably – I thought the interim coach was going to just coach for like 1 game, and then that would kind of be it, or 2 games. But no, I think he coached both Cleveland games and then New Orleans there. So all 3 of them home games he coached. And so now they're going on the road, and they'll be in the West for their next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. So it is interesting, but they probably want to get him there as soon as possible and get him comfortable with the team.
I would have gave him the Pelicans game, to be honest with you. I would have gave him that Saturday game. What's 2 days earlier? You're going to have the Monday game anyways. I'd have put him on the sideline for that game against the Pelicans and just, I mean, even if your interim head coach is basically calling the game, just have Doc there. You know, it's like this last season with the Badgers. You had Jim Leonard. He was coaching the game in that bowl game, but you had Luke Fickell there. He was technically, they were both coaching, but you know, so you get Doc Rivers kind of implemented in there, getting his nose in there on the sidelines live in a game, but not head right away. He's still in there with a guy. So that's kind of where I saw it there. And especially at home, I thought it'd be easier transition to bring him in a home game, not going on the road, especially against the Nuggets. That's a tough first game to have to coach when you haven't coached this team yet. So it's definitely going to be interesting there. Rogan, anything to add there? Starting on the road, I mean, it's interesting concept, but like Austin said, 5 straight road games, what were you going to do? I mean, I would have started a day earlier with the Pelicans, but I mean, what are you seeing right now? Does it make sense for you that he's starting here on the road for the Bucks?
Yeah, like Austin was saying, if you don't start him now, like if you're going to wait for a home game, it's going to be almost 2 weeks. So I think with as little time they already have to try to learn his scheme and how he wants to play, I think you just I think it's got to be trial by fire. Obviously, you just throw them in. Obviously, if this Nuggets game, I could see them getting destroyed. I could, just by, different scheme, different coach, stuff like that. But at some point when you pull off this sort of coaching change in the middle of the season, it's never a good time to start. You just got to do it, rip the Band-Aid off, get the kinks worked out. And with how much the season's like, I mean, they're already halfway through the year. You only got 30-something games left. Like, you need as much time to get acclimated to your coach as possible. So I have no problem with it.
Okay, yeah. It's definitely going to be an interesting one, seeing, like you said, mid-season jumping in there, ripping the Band-Aid off and hoping for the best. I mean, you wouldn't wish it upon anybody else to be able to jump in there mid-season and make it happen. So looking at this Nuggets game, I mean, we can just go over it simply here. I mean, there's the main guys to watch out for. Austin, main guys to watch out for. We all know them, but who are you watching out there for the Nuggets?
Yeah, I'll get into that, but I just want to point out this Northwest standings. They got Oklahoma City, Minnesota, and Denver. Oklahoma City is 32 and 14. Minnesota's tied with them 32 and 14 with their records, and then Denver's 32 and 15. So that I just want to point out that conference just themselves that division is stacked with opponents. So this Denver team definitely has seen some really good opponents this year in general. But yeah, these guys, I'm pretty sure a lot of people know who they are. Nikola Jokic. There, he's averaging 26.3 points per game, 12 rebounds per game, and 8.9 assists per game. Leads the team in all three of those categories, which is very impressive, especially because they have Jamal Murray, who averages 20.9 points per game and 6.5 assists per game. And then Michael Porter Jr. averages 16 points per game. Aaron Gordon, 13.6 points per game. Like you said, Trage, there's a lot of guys on here that we know are good, but they got a lot of help on the back end too with Contavious Caldwell-Pope, Reggie Jackson, and Christian Braun there. They're just overall a really good team, and that's why they won the championship last year. Very good team, and they average as a team 115 points per game. So really, really good there. And this is definitely gonna be a challenge there, especially with this team averaging 43.9 rebounds per game as well. They definitely shoot the ball a lot, and should be a good game. Like you said, with Doc coming in here, first game, I mean, I can see it going both ways, getting blown out or us winning, or I guess it just depends how Doc's can be able to control this team right away off the bat. But it should be fun. I don't know what station they play on. I'm guessing it's from like probably Bally Sports or something stupid, but
Bally.
But I wish they were on like TNT to watch it or ESPN. I feel like this would be a good game to watch, especially with Doc being his first game there.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a good game there. And I mean, Nuggets good, but you can stop them. I mean, look at a couple of games ago, the Knicks beat them 122 to 84. And they had Jokic in there. I mean, I was looking at the box from that game. Most of the starters all the starters for the Nuggets played in that one. They held Murray to 9 points. They held Gordon to 12. They had Porter at 5 in that one, and Caldwell-Pope only had 5. Jokic still got his 31. But the Knicks did a very good job defending this Nuggets team. And, I mean, Nuggets didn't help themselves out. They struggled shooting the basketball that night. But, I mean, all the way around, this is a beatable team. It's hard to beat them at home. This game's going to be on the road, so it's going to be tough. I think the Nuggets are on like a 6-game home winning streak right now or something like that. They've won a pretty good amount in a row there at home. So this is going to be a tough one here for the Bucks on the road. Anything to add there, Rogan, before we move on here?
No, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing if Giannis guards Joker. I doubt he will. I'm guessing he's probably going to guard like Porter and then have Lopez on the Joker. But I just hate when, like, especially like Embiid too, like when these big guys don't guard one another. Like that's what people come to watch, is them going against one another. And I always hate when they kind of take the high road and go guard a different guy and blah, 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 so he can stay next to the rim and rim protect. But it's like people are coming to watch but Joker and Giannis. And if they go head to head like all night long, like that's the type of stuff that people pay to watch. And I doubt it'll happen, but I think it would be a good tone for Giannis to set, especially on the defensive end. If he's like, hey, I want the Joker, you guys guard your guys. Like, we're taking this seriously from now on out. But we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, I completely agree. When you walk into arena, you want to see the matchups. I mean, Wemby, when he went up against Giannis, that's what everybody wanted to see. Those two squaring off for the first time. It's the little things inside the game that has been taken away over the years. You're not seeing these guys, like you said, matching up anymore. Whereas back in the day, that was the huge matchups. You wanted to see these guys. You wanted to see Isaiah Thomas. You wanted to see some of these great defenders going up against some of the better players in the league. And nowadays, you don't get it. You just don't get that. I did see, speaking of Joel Embiid, I did see he can only miss like 6 or 8 more games. Otherwise, he will be disqualified for the MVP award. I did see that now. So I'm glad they're holding players accountable to having to play a certain amount of games to being the MVP race. That is definitely good for the NBA, helping out with that load management situation. But like we were talking there, Bucks, Nuggets, 8 o'clock coming up tonight. Should be a good one there. I believe it's going to be on Bally for that one. from Denver. So should be a good matchup there to check out. Doc Rivers making his debut for the Bucks. But with that, I want to talk about your home team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty. Call Peggy Sue or Anna to find your dream home, or if you're looking to sell, find them on Facebook at your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty, or stop in and see them at their location in Marshfield. And then another one of our ads, just wanted to mention Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville. Stop in and see the awesome crew down there at Pittsville Farm and Home for any one of your farming needs, home needs, whatever it is. They got the hardware that you need for any home improvement that you may be doing in this new year. So with that, I want to move on here. Talking about the Badgers, this last weekend on Friday, got a big win over Michigan State. I want to go to Rogan right away. This game, 81-66, the Badgers pulled this one out. I'm going to get to Rogan right away. Were you at the game for this one? Were you able to make it to the game for this one?
I did not go. I was so sad that I didn't go, but ended up not going. But
you're supposed to be our sideline reporter, Rogan. So
I know.
Hey,
that's what I was
I will be at the Purdue game this upcoming weekend, boys.
There we go.
I will be there.
There we go.
Right,
I will storm the court after we knock off number 2 Purdue, and we'll have We'll do a live podcast from
you're
the
gonna
middle.
you're gonna knock out Zach Edey while you're at it too. There,
I can't even reach his head, dude.
Take him out like Caitlin Clark. Just go onto the court, running with your phone. Running with your phone, doing a live stream. Boom, gone. Got him. So, yeah, I mean, it was hard to get into that game, even as students for this one, because it was a sold-out crowd. The atmosphere was electric. This was a heck of a game. Badgers knock off Michigan State this season, not once, but twice. It's been a very long time since the Badgers have done that. So that's impressive. A clean season sweep of the Michigan State Spartans. So, Austin, just looking around the board there at the box in this one, what were some of your keys that stood out to you in this game?
Yeah, for start with Michigan State, I thought Hogard played pretty good considering the past few games that he's been playing. He scored 19 points for Michigan State. Hall added 13, Walker had 11, and Akins had 10. What I think was good is we kept their bench to only 11 points, and that's where we kind of outbeat them quite a bit there in our bench scoring compared to their bench scoring. When you look at our bench, we had 13, 19, so it looks like 22 points on our bench compared to their 11. I thought that was pretty huge. Connor Segan, a big part of that with 8 points there. 2 3-pointers. I thought he played pretty good when he was in, just all around the board. But when you look to our starters, AJ Storr, man, what a huge pickup he has been this whole year. And the first time they played Michigan State, he dropped, 20-something points. I think it was 24, 25. This time, I talked about him like, watch out for AJ Storr again. This time, 28 points. I thought that was huge. Steven Crowell getting back to his old ways, 15 points there. Wall was only had 6 points, and Klesmit only had 6 points. And then Hepburn only had 4. But he had a 3-pointer there at the end there that kind of was a dagger there, so that was pretty huge. And it just goes to show how good our team is, even when some of our best players aren't scoring double digits. I mean, Wall is still there as a threat, and he had 6 rebounds also. So that's pretty good. 3 turnovers, but as a team, we only had 6 turnovers, and they had 8 turnovers. But we've seen some of this. We've seen some of this Badger basketball, especially against Penn State, when they turned the ball over 11, 12 times. It's not good, and you wonder why we lose those games. This time, it was pretty much a close game up until the last few minutes. It was a pretty close game throughout the whole game, and those turnovers is what I think helped us a lot. Also, free throw shooting. We shot 19 free throws. They only shot 12, and we made 14 compared to their 10. So there's 4 points from the stripe right there. But overall, I mean, this was a very, very good win, and it's the first time we've swept Michigan State since 2005 or 2004, 2005, 2006, one of those 3 years.
Somewhere in there, right?
I think it's one of those years. And so that's pretty impressive, especially since Tom Izzo's still their coach. And, I mean, I saw a graphic that he got inducted in the Naismith Hall of Fame in 2016 or something, and he's still coaching. So that's pretty impressive there. And they got a great coach. But this Wisconsin team is special by themselves, and they impressed me. They impressed me on when they played there on Friday.
Something about AJ Storr against Michigan State. 50 points on 17. He had 50 points in the 2 games that they played this season, and 17 of 28 shooting. That's just ridiculous numbers right there out of AJ Storr. Like you said, massive pickup for the Badgers there. The big guy that you pointed out, Tyler Wall. And the thing that they said about him all game long, the Swiss Army knife. He's the Swiss Army knife of this team. He's that guy where when you need a guy on the defensive end, he steps up. He's right there in the scrum. He's all around the court. That's a big thing with Tyler Wall. The little things like we talk about with Chucky. Chucky's got the little things throughout a game that really step up for you. A couple of big things I saw in this one. Nolan Winter off the bench, 2 big threes in this game. That impressed me. Nolan Winter stepping into this game and being able to knock down a couple quick buckets. That was massive. And Essegian, I mean, he's been hitting the ball. He's been shooting a lot better as of late getting into these games. And this one, too, I think he was 2 for 3 in this one from downtown. Yep, 2 for 3. So impressive there out of Essegian. The thing that really stood out to me, Badgers defense played better in this one. They scored 81 points, but I thought their defense played a lot better, and you can see it by what you saw in Tyson Walker in this game. Only 11 points for Tyson Walker. That is what Chucky Hepburn and what Max Klesmit bring to this Badger team. Those 2 guys on Tyson Walker in this game impressed me all the way through. They shut down one of the better point guards. You know, you could compare him to in the country. Tyson Walker, very good point guard, very good scorer, and they shut him out of this ball game. So I thought that was massive to watch. Holgard's very good scorer, can get downhill, can score it at the rim. 19 points for Holgard. I mean, one of these guards is going to go off against you for Michigan State. You want it to not be Tyson Walker. Holgard went off for him. Atkins could never get going. He's been a struggle this year for Michigan State, and I think they did a very good job on him. But the defensive play of Steven Crowell against Sissoko in this game, and also Cooper coming in there too, those 2 guys, the big men for Michigan State in this ball game, if you look across the board, I mean, even looking at the forwards here with Kohler, and then you had Booker in there late, those guys had 13 points in total. The Badgers dominated in the paint there with the big men. That's what I love to see out of Wisconsin, was the defensive play of Steven Crowell and Tyler Wall going up against some of these guys. That's what was most impressive to me in this game. What I didn't like in this game was that the Badgers took their foot off the gas. They could have easily won this game 20 points easily in this game here. They slowed down at the end. They weren't running through their offensive sets. They were getting a lot more stagnant. They were forcing shots. That's what you don't want to see out of Wisconsin. That gets them into bad tendencies down there on the offensive end, is when they like to stand around. They aren't moving the basketball around. They aren't looking to score. This game was out of reach. Michigan State was able to bring it back within reach there late in that ball game because Wisconsin went away from the offense there for a while. And I thought that really was something that I didn't like about this game. They were up 71-53 with 8 minutes and 40 seconds left in this game. That's how much, I mean, they were putting the beat down on this Michigan State Spartans team. And I thought they got lackadaisical on both ends of the court. So that's what I didn't like about this Wisconsin game. But, I mean, other than that, you look at this game as a whole, and Wisconsin's defense looked great. I thought they played better in this one. They have a lot of things still to work through. I thought there was some lapses at times, but I thought they played a lot better in this game from what we've been talking about there. You know, the offense was going, but the defense was struggling. This game, the defense showed up, and that's what was massive in this game for me. So Rogan, I mean, watching this game, I mean, you didn't get to it, but you were watching. What did you see that you liked or disliked out of this Badger game against Michigan State?
Yeah, like you were saying, I really liked how our guards played defense, especially with like Tyrese Walker there. Like, he is a fantastic player, and to hold him to 4 of 14 from the field is pretty impressive. But kind of also, like you were saying, like obviously you look in the box score here, and our big guys, I mean, Krell had 15, Wall had 6, Winter had 6. It's not like they had a huge game. None of them had a game like Storr did with 28 there. But the thing I look at right in this box score is the rebounding. We out-rebounded Michigan State by 35-25 and 12-8 on the offensive boards. And like I'm sure you guys know with Michigan State, they're a great rebounding team, especially like offensive rebounds. I know I've listened to Tom Izzo talk a little bit about like rebounding stuff, and they go over offensive rebounds like every practice. And that's something that almost no other college basketball team does nowadays, because that's kind of the thing they hang their hat on, is being really tough in the paint and getting a lot of those rebounds. So for the Badgers to kind of go in there and shut that paint down for some of these big guys and hold them to 8 offensive rebounds and to actually out rebound them on the offensive side of the glass is really impressive. The one I didn't like you were saying, I didn't like late game offense, especially at the end. It got very one-on-one oriented, and that's when Michigan State made a run there at the end, and it was kind of getting. I think at one point the Badgers were up like almost 20.
Yep.
With like 6 to go or something like that. Like not a lot of time left, up by 20. And then before you knew it, it was like 10 with 3 to go. And obviously we've seen crazier things happen. So they've got to be better putting some of these games away and kind of going for the blood there, because some of these games they get up by 15 to 20 points, then they start coasting. Well, these teams in college now with 3-pointers can make runs really fast. So they got to be careful with that. But overall, I think a really solid game from the Badgers here.
That's the biggest thing I've watched with Wisconsin basketball over the years. It's like we get leads. Doesn't matter what it is, 10, 15, 20, doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden, we decide, let's stop running the offense. Let's just try to milk this clock. Let's try to survive. That's the biggest thing that I hate about Greg Gard in Wisconsin at times is they try to survive games. You have a 20-point lead. You don't have to survive. Keep doing what you're doing. Build this lead. Keep building on it. It's college basketball. You're not blowing them out by 50. You don't need to completely pull off. You're not beating a team like we've seen some ridiculous scores here around some of these college basketball games where it's like 90-something to 10. Like, it's not that kind of deal there. You're blowing a team out, but you're not blowing them out that bad. Keep the gas pedal down and bury them. That's what I want to see Wisconsin do here. And that's what I think they're missing. Is that last second, put the gas pedal down and just end it. That's what, just kills me watching Wisconsin at times here over the years. But, all the way around, fantastic win for the Badgers against Michigan State. Took care of business on the main court. And like we talked about, the Badgers ranked at number 13 in the country now. I believe as of today, later today, they're going to release the rankings. They're going to move up because the college basketball landscape, there's a lot of top 10 teams that lost over the weekend there. So I believe the Badgers will move up again. So they're going to be in the top 10. You're going to be, like we said, you're the hunted now. You're not the hunter. You're not on the bubble anymore. You're in the top 25. Teams are hunting for you now. So you have to come out and be the aggressor yet. You cannot let other teams out and be the aggressor against you. And that's what I loved what you said there about Michigan State. They're very good on the offensive rebounds. They love to get offensive rebounds and second chance points. Wisconsin limited that. And that's the big thing. You get into some of these Big Ten battles like against Michigan State. It's who's going to be the most aggressive team at the end of the day. You want to beat Purdue, you got to be aggressive. You got to come out aggressive. You have to play the entire game like that. You can't get away from it. And that's what I think I loved about this game is they came out as the aggressor and they kept that going. They got away from it late in this game, but I loved what they did early on. So that's definitely great to see out of Wisconsin. So they get the win 81-66 over the weekend there. Massive win for the Badgers, staying at the top of the Big Ten rankings right now. And I believe they're in action next on Thursday. Thursday? No, not Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. They're in action next on Thursday there against Nebraska. So that should be another good matchup there. That one's going to be at the Cornhuskers there. So should be a good matchup there against Nebraska coming up on Thursday before they have that big meeting there with Purdue. That's the massive matchup. Hopefully it's not a trap game there with Nebraska. But with that, I want to move on here. We're going to get into another one of our sponsors, Game Day Supply. Do you have a sports club or a team? Are you looking for some custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply to help your team get the sweetest gear. Find them on Facebook at Game Day Supply or online at GameDaySupply.net. But with that, let's get into here, just looking over the rest of the college basketball landscape over this last weekend. I just want to touch base into them. Marquette and who did Marquette play over this last weekend here? I just lost it. Seton Hall. Marquette got the big win over Seton Hall, 75-57 over the weekend there. And then the Green Bay men's were in action. They beat Detroit Mercy. Milwaukee men's lost in double overtime against Oakland. That was a good game there. If anybody watched it there on ESPN+. Badger women got the win over Rutgers. Marquette women got the win over Butler. Green Bay women and Milwaukee women both got wins over Wright State. So Wright State was 0-2 over the weekend there against the women's D1 teams there in the Horizon League. But with that, we got to get into this last weekend. I just wanted to touch base into it. The NFL NFC, AFC championship games. So we had our predictions. I'm going to get into them in a second here, but I want to look at the scoreboard first. We had the Chiefs over the Ravens, 17-10. That was a bad game. That was a bad game all the way around. And then the 49ers and the Lions, they blew that one worse than the Packers did. 34-31 was the final there. The 49ers and the Chiefs will meet in the Super Bowl. So first, I want to look at the Chiefs-Ravens game. And, we talked about this game a little bit last week. We said the things that needed to happen. The Chiefs played a good first quarter. Their defense played a good complete game, I thought, but their Chiefs offense played a good first quarter, and that was it. They just survived after that. That was this game to me. The Ravens killed themselves in this game all the way around. So looking at our predictions, there was only one guy who picked the Chiefs, and that was me. So I mean, come on. I know. I got the Chiefs. So the Chiefs picked up the win there. But I'm going to jump to Rogan because he was the most verbose about this one. He was very upset watching this game. So Rogan, Chiefs, Ravens, we expected something different. This is what we got, 17-10. What did you see in that game that led to, the Ravens looking like crap?
Trey, I was almost more upset with myself because last week we were talking when the Chiefs were playing the Bills, and the entire time I was like, yeah, I think the Bills are the better team. I want the Bills to win. But in my gut, I knew the other team had Patrick Mahomes. Yep. And that's the same feeling I had about this game. But for some reason, I let MVP Lamar trick me in taking the Ravens this year. And I had 3 takeaways from this game. Obviously, the first one, Lamar, there's got to be some serious questions into the offseason about Lamar in the playoffs because he looked horrible in this game. I don't think there was a deep ball he threw all game that wasn't overthrown. Every single one of them was overthrown.
Yeah, he was just chucking it up there to chuck it up there.
Overthrown, and he panicked in the pocket continuously. And you kind of saw him lose his cool. I think it was that when they went for it on 4th down and he threw the incomplete pass, he comes and slams his helmet down. He got in his own head. And when your starting quarterback gets in his own head for a playoff game, that's concerning, especially since we've seen this multiple times now. Second, I don't know if you guys really noticed, but I think it was the Chiefs' game plan coming into that game to get under the Ravens' skin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You even saw it with the Justin Tucker in the beginning of the game throwing his kicking tee and throwing it. And it looked like it was so evident that the Chiefs were doing it on purpose. Too. Yeah.
Yep.
Because they knew they could get under the Ravens' skin, and the Ravens are a young team, and they don't know when to turn it off. That's the thing with the Chiefs. They're a bunch of vets, so they know how to toe the line without going over. You saw it with Kelsey all the time. Kelsey would get in these linebackers' face, and the Ravens guys thought they would get Kelsey upset, but really the entire time Kelsey was just playing the linebacker until he did something, and then he would just bust out laughing when the ref would throw a flag. He wasn't getting upset, but he was just playing these linebackers the entire time. And that's the second biggest takeaway I had was how much the Ravens beat themselves with all the stupid penalties and completely lack of focus. That Zay Flowers taunting penalty. How do you do that? That would be a taunting penalty back in the 70s. It was that
you got to be smart. You have to be smart.
Yeah. And then finally, my third takeaway, this is kind of a good one for the Ravens, but Kyle Hamilton is a freaking stud.
Yeah, he is.
That guy is unbelievable. He's the best safety in the league, and he's a rookie this year. He is his speed to cover sideline to sideline, and he never misses a tackle. And then on top of that, he's willing to sacrifice his body down in the box like that against the run game. That guy is going to be a special safety for the Ravens because, he was making plays all over the field yesterday in that game.
Yeah, and like you said, the biggest thing there, they killed themselves. The Ravens killed themselves, and it was all just undisciplined. It was all undisciplined stuff that they were doing out there. You talked about Lamar losing his cool. This whole team lost their cool. They didn't know what to do. They were lost. They didn't have a leader on this team to bring them back. And I think that was the big thing. Like you pointed out there with Lamar Jackson, once he lost his cool, they were done. They didn't have anybody else. Your quarterback is supposed to be that guy. I think Patrick Mahomes, until after the game when he loses his complete mind, we saw that this year, he still keeps it under wraps. He's going to get in a guy's face or two, and I think that's what you need in a starting quarterback, but you got to keep your cool out there. At least, keep the troops rallied, and I didn't think they had that in this game. They were all around lost, and undisciplined. Like you said, Zay Flowers, I get it. People want to complain about the taunting. You want to have stuff like that in the league. First off, he threw the ball at the guy. Second off, then he stood over top of him and stood there. I get if you want to do it for a second and walk away, that's fine. You do you. But all that added up, then it's like, dude, I mean, come on. You had to expect that. You had to expect something like that was going to happen there. Just stupid play. Really all around stupid play. And then fumbles the ball at the goal line. Right at the goal line, too. And then Lamar's throw, that got picked off late there. Maybe if he threw it 5 minutes earlier when the guy stuck his arm up originally and the ball would have been thrown then over the top, possibly there. But otherwise, there was no window. There was 3 guys there. People wanted the pass interference call. I mean, it was hit or miss, but I was glad that the refs kind of stayed out of it. I thought they should have got into it at one point in this game and just flagged both sides, said, both sides, we're going to call you for, taunting, whatever you want to call. And then just offsetting penalties, move on with life. Just make sure that both teams know that, hey, stop with the chippy crap. Because I thought this game got chippy there for a while. There was a lot of fights breaking out, pushing and shoving both ways. And the refs were kind of just blowing whistles and getting involved, but pushing guys out of the way, trying to clear it out. I thought they could have got involved a little bit more in this game. But all the way around, I was glad they stayed out of it as much as they did and just let the game play out. I think that's why we saw what we saw in this game. So, Austin, any big takeaways that you had from the Ravens-Chiefs matchup?
You guys pretty much covered it all. Like you guys said, they kind of killed themselves with the penalties, the turnovers, getting them in their own head there. Man, it was honestly first half really good, second half subpar game. I mean, there was only one field goal, or I don't even know if there was any score. There wasn't that much scoring.
That was it. It was a field goal. Yeah,
a field goal. And we saw how many times the Ravens had a chance there. On that last drive when the Ravens defense was out there and the Chiefs just had to melt the clock, I thought that was pretty smart there to get a penalty to move it to another 1st and 10 when you still had the 2-minute warning and 2 timeouts. Don't know if Roquan Smith had to kill him that much on could have just touched
interesting. Yeah,
could have just touched him. But I guess impose your will on the old lineman, but that was definitely interesting. At the end of the day, it didn't hurt him because they still got him to 3rd and whatever. And then Valdes-Scantling somehow caught the ball. I think that was his first catch all year.
He shows up in the playoffs, man.
Yeah, shows up when he has to. Luckily, Kadarius Toney was out for this game, which is another interesting story with that. But even besides that, it was I don't know. I just hate the Chiefs, man. I just hate the Chiefs, and everyone was cheering for the Ravens except for people living in Kansas City or people living in Missouri. And Lamar just could not provide for the community like we could.
I was all about the Chiefs in that game. I was all about it. I picked the Chiefs. I had them winning. And like Rogan mentioned earlier there to us, is that penalty was designed. It was supposed to be like that. It was just, why did Roquan Smith decide that I'm just going to completely obliterate this man who isn't ready for it? I mean, it was interesting. That was part of your undisciplined play that we talked about there with the Ravens, was all summed up in that play right there. So definitely, like you said, a tale of two halves in this one. I was sitting there cheering for the Chiefs and saying, I really hope this doesn't go to overtime right now, because the Chiefs can't win in overtime. They can't score. They can't score. They are just trying to milk this clock and survive. That's all the Chiefs are doing right now. The Ravens just have to score and they're going to win this game. And I mean, Ravens couldn't figure it out. They could not figure it out in this game here. I thought Spagnuolo did a good job on the defensive side for the Chiefs in this one, drawing up different looks for Lamar. And like Rogan said earlier, making him uncomfortable and not really, getting a pocket. There was no pocket to pass in. He bailed out right away. And that's what we had to see in this one, was putting pressure on Lamar and making him try to do things with his legs in this game. So moving on to the next one there, 49ers got the win over the Lions. Austin's the only one who picked the 49ers. So Austin and I tied 1-1. So we're only going to have the Super Bowl left to pick who's going to win it all here for us here. So Austin, good pick there. So I'll go to Austin right away. Big things that stood out for you in this game, 49ers Lions.
Let me tell you, Trage, that pick was not looking good after the first half. Lions controlled the first half. Let me pull up the box score real quick because I don't have it up. But the Lions controlled the first half, and it was looking pretty good. It was looking like the Packers versus honestly looked like the Packers versus Cowboys game there. How we were just completely dominating them, and Lions were winning 24-7 there, and they didn't. The Lions just didn't score until 1 minute left in the fourth quarter. The San Francisco 49ers went on a 27-0 run there, and I mean a lot of drop balls. A lot of drop balls that we saw from the Lions. I think that's what killed them in crucial moments. And I thought the Lions' run game was really strong in the first half. I didn't really see a whole lot in the second half, but they had moments there where it was pretty strong. And, I mean, it goes back to – never mind. I guess they did take their points. I was thinking back, and I thought with Dan Campbell being out there, being their coach, they would have went for it on that fourth and something in the goal line there, but they ended up taking their points. I'm like, that came back to hurt them, but no, they took their points. But, I mean, this was a pretty good game overall. And I know there was a lot of some of my buddies were like taking the live bets on 49ers because they just felt like they knew that the 49ers were going to come back in this game. And lo and behold, they came back in a huge way. And the 49ers defense stepped up huge. Christian McCaffrey is a beast, but I don't know if y'all saw that one catch by Brandon Ayuk, which was crazy. The ball tipped off the dude's helmet, and then Brandon Ayuk had a huge catch there. And if he wasn't touched, it would have been a touchdown, which would have been probably one of the most insane plays, in a while. I thought an even more insane game or play was when Lamar caught his own pass, and if he didn't get tackled, he might have taken that one to the house, but he did, and then they lost, so it doesn't matter. But the game was a pretty good game, and I mean, the Lions, man, I feel bad for them. I do. I was cheering for the Lions, even though I had picked the 49ers to win. I was cheering for them, and they choked. Probably worse than the Packers.
2 plays. Brock Purdy was saved on 2 plays. Darnell Savage drops a pick 6. That ball, like you said, Ayuk ended up catching it, but it was a pick. Had it in his hands, dropped it. Hit him in the head. But either way, 2 balls that should have been picked off right there. And then, you talked about earlier on, they took the points there. There was a drive late in this one. It was 27-24, San Francisco. I like Dan Campbell because he's aggressive, but they had a 4th and 3 at San Francisco's 30-yard line. Take the points, kick the field goal, tie that game up at 27. Then it was 4th and 3. I get it. It's a short yardage situation. You trust your offense and Jared Goff to get the first down. Take the points. Walk away from it 27-27. You're a brand new ball game. Now the 49ers have the momentum back. They just got to stop again. The alarming part for me, if you are a 49ers fan, you look at the Packer game, you look at this Lions game, how 2 teams were able to move the football against this defense, which is supposed to be very good. They were able to move this football against them, and the ability for 2 defenses who were, if you really look at the grand scheme of things, subpar throughout the season. The Packers defense, I thought, played better at the end of the season, but 2 not-so-good defenses made your all-star caliber offense look made Brock Purdy uncomfortable and make bad decisions. And if you're a 49ers fan, you're kind of on the edge of your seat right now because this offense/defense for the 49ers takes a long time to get going. They take a long time to get going. And that would worry me if I was a San Francisco 49er fan. So, Rogan, anything on your side?
Yeah, Trage. Like you were saying, Dan Campbell, a very aggressive coach, but it's 27-24. You got to take that field goal to tie the game up. You have to. You cannot, because exactly what happened. They go for it, don't get it. 49ers go end the game. Like, you just have to take the field goal there to tie that game up. So, and there was another one, I think early second half, where they had a 4th and 2. And this was their first possession of the second half. 49ers go down, score, make it 24-10. Lions get the ball back. 49ers just kicked a field goal. Lions get the ball back. They've got a 4th and 2 from like the 28 or something like that. And like I know you're a very aggressive coach, and we can't really complain too much because that is why the Lions got there this year, is because that is the kind of culture he's built. So you kind of live and you die by it sometimes. But that's another situation where I think you just take the field goal and you match. You got to match the 49ers. You can't afford to risk not getting points there. And now the 49ers they next possession score another touchdown. So that first one in the third quarter, I think you kick a field goal there, match it, make it 27-10. And then that last one, you have to kick a field goal there. I mean, I know you're aggressive, but even for an aggressive football coach, I don't think you can justify going for that last one. That's a spot where you have to kick it. And I don't know about you guys, but between the two teams in the Super Bowl, it kind of feels like the two teams that like didn't really deserve to be there and kind of more were lucky to be there. Because you look at that Chiefs game, and you can't watch that Chiefs Baltimore game and think the Chiefs were the better team. Like, they weren't. They got shut down for 3 quarters of that game, and the Ravens lost themselves. And you look at the San Francisco team, and yes, the Packer game, great comeback, but losing in that game all the way to the end, and then getting crushed by Lions. And let's be honest, it took the Lions wide receivers to all of a sudden, for the first time all year, start dropping wide open pass after wide open pass. Jahmyr Gibbs fumbles the ball right after they get it. Like, I don't know. And Purdy doesn't look the part to me either. Like, he's really struggled in these 2 games. So it's going to be interesting to watch the Super Bowl, but I don't know. Now looking ahead and seeing this Chiefs offense go against this defense who's been giving up a lot of points, a lot of yards, and then that Chiefs defense who's been playing really well going against this. I know they scored 34 points, but this offense has kind of been struggling for the 49ers. Like I hate to say it, but I think we might have another Chiefs Super Bowl on the way.
I think we might. I really do. And I look back to that same possession, like you said, a drop pass on that 4th and 2 that you were talking about. They should have took the points. Reynolds had the ball in his hands. I mean, he had it in his arms and he dropped it. So it's like that play is one away from getting you. They were at the 28 right there. So I think you were probably at 15 at least there. I mean, they were well ahead of the sticks there. So, I mean, just the Lions killed themselves. And like you said there, you had, I mean, hypothetically saying he hits both those field goals, Lions win. They win this game. I mean, that's just points left on the board. You look at the Packers, you look at the Lions, both teams left points on the board. The only thing the Lions did different than Green Bay was they scored when they got to the red zone early. They didn't kick field goals. They scored. And that's what the difference was between the two. But other than that, I mean, both teams got to the 49ers, and I don't see them. They played all season like they were the top team in the NFC. I don't see it right now. I really don't. I think the Packers could have been in this game against the Lions just as easily as the 49ers were. I really do. And who knows what would happen then. But definitely an interesting weekend there in the AFC and NFC division, our championship games there. So we have a Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl. We'll get into that more as we get closer there. But with that, I almost forgot about Austin. I can't forget about you. I got to get to Austin with the fact of the day.
On this day in 1948, Commissioner Happy Chandler for the MLB fines the Yankees, Cubs, and Phillies $500 each for signing high school players. I think this is interesting because now you look at this day and age, high school players are getting drafted right out of high school in the first round for lots of money. And but back in 1948, no high school players were allowed, and you actually got fined for $500, which, I mean, $500 back in 1948, I feel like is a lot considering it was only $500. But I just thought that was pretty interesting.
Attaboy, that was a good fact of the day right there. I got to say, though, the $500, like you said, that's crazy. That's crazy because nowadays the littlest fine you could probably find is like at least a couple $1,000. At least, if not more, is the littlest fine you can find. And $500, like you said back then, that was probably the max. I mean, you were probably getting to $1 fine if you showed up late to practice. And now you got $500 fine. That's probably the max you could go with it. So definitely crazy to see there. And like you said, high school athletes, I mean, yeah, like you said, nowadays those guys are being drafted straight out of high school and they're jumping into the minor league ranks right away. And back then you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. So it's definitely crazy there for that fact of the day. But I'm going to jump to Rogan right away. Sports story of the day. We got to get to it. What is our sports story of the day?
Yeah, boys, my sports story of the day, if you remember a couple days ago, the Chiefs ruled out Kadarius Toney because of an injury. And then last night, Toney was doing an Instagram, the night before the game, Toney was doing an Instagram live, and he kind of let it slip that he's not injured whatsoever, but the Chiefs won't let him play. So I kind of find that really interesting. And it seems like he's completely fine, but it almost as if the Chiefs kind of benched him, but don't really want it to turn into a story. So are just kind of saying he's hurt, which I think he should have got benched a long time ago. But it is kind of an odd way to go about it, saying he has an injury when he's not. And it kind of calls into question the injury report, which I know is kind of a big deal nowadays with like sports betting, with like the injury report and some of these teams kind of lying about players being injured or not disclosing injuries. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any investigation into this by the NFL and possibly.
That's baffling. That really is. You're just basically telling it, and I can't believe they let Toney, like, that's baffling that you just tell Toney he can't even show up. Like, dude, you're not going to play. I mean, just let him
Can you
suit
blame
up.
him,
Don't put him in the,
Can you blame him?
I mean, I can't blame him. I really can't blame him, but let him suit up. Let him stand on the sideline and not do anything. I mean, that's at the end of the day, what's that going to hurt? Don't put him in the game plan or anything, but at least don't throw him on the injury report.
Just let him go out there and run around.
If he would have played, the Ravens would have won like 42-9. Like, he
Probably.
had like three drop touchdowns for pick sixes.
I don't even think, like, if you watch that game as a whole, did Mahomes really target anybody besides Kelsey and Rice? I mean, in that game, it was really Kelsey and Rice. They could have let Toney run around out there. Nobody would have paid attention to him. Just let him run around out there and just take up space or something.
Then it was the muscle hamster Pacheco just running insane in the backfield.
That guy's nuts. I mean, watching him run for how little he looks, and he just comes through a hole at 1,000 miles per hour, and he can barrel over a linebacker. I mean, some of the bigger linebackers, he barrels right through them. He is an impressive running back all the way around.
Reminds me of a little shout out, but reminds me a little bit of the muscle hamster in high school, Xander Hinker, with the way he runs. He's kind of little, but like you can't tackle that guy in the open field. He's just zoom, zoom, zoom.
No.
He's slippery. You can't see him.
Not give Xander Hinker a shout out.
He can hide behind a 5-foot lineman. He's hiding behind there. You can't see him. Then all of a sudden, he's gone.
He's out there. See you later.
So with that, next, we're going to jump to Austin here. What do you got for your sports story of the day? What do you got for me?
Yeah, my sports story is coming out of the NBA. The NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, has reached a deal on a contract extension that will keep him in the role to at least 2030. And I think this is pretty big for the NBA. Adam Silver has done a lot for the NBA. Just looking at some of the things that he's done. A decade ago, the salary cap for each team was around $63 million, and now this season it is up to $136 million there. And this just goes to how Silver has been instrumental in increasing league revenue and rewarding its own players and the owners. And just Damian Lillard is scheduled to earn $63.2 million in 2026. So he's averaging, or he's going to earn more than what the salary cap was just a decade ago, which is pretty impressive. And then we saw what Adam Silver was able to do during COVID-19 and all that stuff. And he's honestly one of the better commissioners. I don't really see anyone complain about him like some people do about Rob Manfred and the guy in, I forget, Roger Goodell. Yeah, he's always getting booed and stuff, and some people complain about him and some of his decisions. But Adam Silver, I thought the decisions that he has made to increase the NBA's wealth and just overall playing ability of the players and everything, I thought he's done a pretty good job. So this is definitely a win for the NBA.
Definitely a win. And at the end of the day, I mean, you look at the revenue. Like you said, look at the revenue. And even this in-season tournament that he brought in this last year, I know we all make fun of the Lakers for hanging the banner, but the in-season tournament definitely brought a lot to the NBA. A lot of people didn't understand it at first, but they had some intrigue into it. So I think it's going to be a good thing moving forward there for the NBA. I just want to get my sports story of the day, more of a shout out to my cousin Jackson Meyer, wrestles for the NGL wrestling team. He wrestles in the heavyweight. He's a freshman in high school, wrestles in the heavyweight. He is 27-10 on the season right now. An impressive record. Just went down to the Wisconsin Dells, lost to a senior down there. He lost by pinfall there. He got second place out of, I believe, like 12 guys. But, I mean, for a heavyweight wrestler, a freshman in high school jumping into a heavyweight class and sitting at 27-10 on the season, I don't know if many people watch wrestling, but for a freshman in high school jumping into heavyweight, that's one of the toughest brackets to jump into right there. You're going against some big dudes. And, I mean, he's holding his own, 27-10. So just a special shout out to him. Keep doing what you're doing right now because it's impressing a lot of people out there. And, I mean, a lot of coaches, a lot of people didn't expect him to be where he's at right now, especially wrestling at the heavyweight. So 27-10, that's impressive all the way around. But anything else to add, you guys, before we end today?
I don't think so, Trage.
Nothing across the board. So with that we talked about a lot today. Got into a little bit of everything across the world of sports. We're going to be back tomorrow. We're going to be talking about, we got some Packer news coming at you. We'll talk about the Brewers, 60 days and counting. We're getting closer to Brewers baseball. So with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow. But until then, deuces.